Okay, I'm sure if you haven't seen this movie, stop and watch the movie. And I'm recommending watching the movie, even though how bad it is, because there is a ornament on the wall of an office that should get screen credit. And you know what I'm talking about? This junior high thread mascot lion thing on the wall. And the cinematographer loves it because he framed it. It gets more framing than anybody in the scene.
Yeah. I think between that and whoever did the hair for Matt Hannon, I think we really need to just get a whole new level of Oscar attention.
So let's talk about the movie that failed Up.
Sure. Hey, welcome back to the show, everybody. I'm one of your hosts, Kyle Goethe from GoatFilmReviews.com.
Thank you, Patreon, for picking this movie to talk about, because it is one of the things that you can there's so many trajectories you can go. Another way to help us to pick out a movie is, of course, join our Patreon to pick movies that we'll talk about in future episodes. Of course, a shout out to you. So hi, Tyler. Thanks again for picking these movies.
Save us from picking Samurai Cop 2 by joining the Patreon link down below.
And there's a third one also. Also, hit the like and subscribe button. It's a little thing you can do, but it's a big thing for us. As if you didn't know, what the heck's going on with Samurai Cop?
All right, so we got an intricate plot here. So everybody bear with me. A Japanese gang called the Katana has been taking over L.A., and only detectives Joe Marshall and Frank Washington can put a stop to it. Joe needs to use his extensive knowledge of samurai police work and the Japanese language in order to take out the baddies. Oh, he's got a lot of shit on you.
There's many different versions on YouTube up right now. I think it's probably public domain. But they removed the awkward sex scenes in it. And I think, I'm not a champion of, I don't really care if you put sex scenes or not. But if you want the full experience of awkwardness, you have to see it with the sex scenes in it. Because
they're on Plex. If you're watching the movie...
Yeah, on YouTube, they have to remove them to be on YouTube. But if you want the full experience, you have to watch it on Plex or some other streaming service to get the full awkwardness. It's not romantic. And how comfortable it is to make out on a rock in your swimsuit.
Mm-hmm. But they're trying.
Right.
The sex scenes are odd because
right.
They're not integral to the plot at all.
But nothing really.
They're there to jazz up the 90-minute runtime.
Yeah.
And they're there to, kind of get away with everything that director Amir Shervan has done before. What shocked me about watching this on Plex was that they had it converted to HD. And this movie actually looks kind of incredible in HD.
What the hell for?
I did not expect to see this movie at 1080p, but I did. And it actually looks pretty good. But the problem is then you notice even more of the problems of the film.
Yeah.
Like the half and half
they didn't...
for Matt Hanton.
So when you say cut as a director in the 90s, back when we had like real physical reels to work with, you wait a few seconds to stop the camera. Obviously, the cameraman, when he said cut, immediately cut.
Oh yeah.
So because he had like salvage, and you can see the exposure go because the engine in the motor is still winding down.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can see a lot of those cuts. Best dialogue writing of all time has to come out for The Nurse. That is some talented writing for the nurse dialogue.
It's funny having seen this movie in bits and pieces over the past several decades, and then actually sitting down and watching it and seeing the order of these scenes. It's odd because the scenes that are in question are so lampooningly awful and so ridiculous and so over the top, and then they're surrounded by what seems to be actual attempts at a story. So it's very confusing. It's almost like there was two different writers, like daytime Amir Shervan was writing the action scenes and trying to push the narrative forward, and then nighttime him got in and was like, you know what we need right now? A really long conversation between a nurse and our lead.
Shoot!
Yeah.
So we have to talk about this movie if you have seen it. We can't really review it if you have not seen it because you have to experience people correspond about it with seeing it first. Mm-hmm. And a lot of things don't work, and like I said, it fails up. Everything it does is incorrect of how you want to make a movie flow. Alan Moore said it. If you want to be somebody artistic in endeavors, if you want to be a filmmaker, you have to watch bad films too to realize what not to do.
Yeah, it's an incredibly important part of the process. That's why usually I tend to watch just about any movie that comes my way. I tend to read just about any book that gets suggested to me, just because it's all part of the creation. It's all part of the learning process.
Especially if you're supposed to be an Asian Japanese gangster, but there's no Japanese gangster other than the boss.
Yeah.
And you have one character who just announces, "Oh, here comes the boss." That's all she's there to do.
Yeah. But she does it well.
And she's got nice red hair.
Yeah.
That's what you have to compliment, because there's nothing there to. Yeah.
The problem is, like, I feel like this director watched those bad movies. He just didn't
From
learn
the 80s,
the right things
because it
from
came out in
them,
'91. There's
you know?
a lot of this '80s influence of it. Yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like he took the wrong things away from those bad movies. He took the things that were bad and thought they were good or something. Because he had done other films. He'd done 5 American films, I believe, once he arrived here, and that was like Hollywood Cop and like this film. And he did a lot of these kind of cop drama films that follow similar kind of beats. And I think it's the mixture of getting this director who seemingly doesn't understand the realism, or maybe isn't going for it, with ex-Sly Stallone bodyguard Matt Hannon, who walks in and immediately gets cast without actually doing any of the reading, any of the work right there.
But
you can see those tensions building.
You know you're going to get a banger. It's a banger when Robert Zadar is the headliner.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's weird because, he is the first cast list, on the film.
And, of course, he was the Maniac Cop, and then he's in this movie. So when I was in the teens, I would get this movie and Maniac Cop mixed up in a ball.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Well, when our Patreon selected it, I actually thought we were doing Maniac Cop, and I got excited for a moment.
We should do an anthology of Robert Zadar on our Patreon. Movies.
But if you view the original VHS poster, that poster work
has nothing to do with the movie.
It looks like Maniac Cop.
Yeah.
It's got the beheading. It's got the kind of villainous character in the background. It doesn't have anything to do with the film. It's almost like they thought, you know what, maybe if they confuse this. Maybe if Kyle and Nick confuse this.
Because he's not wearing a uniform. He doesn't, decapitated head. You never, just like, I want to put on my mantle. And we never get to see it put on the mantle. There are so many things that just like, I wish they just really did it.
Yeah.
There's no linear, I would say, anthology to the movie. Like, things cut and then that's it. They never really come back. It's just like just little vignettes of scenery.
Yeah, that's true. My biggest fault with the film, among many faults, is that there is a lack of forward trajectory in the narrative.
Yeah.
And having watched the film 1.5 times, I can't really tell you about like what the plot was. Past the idea of we got a villainous gang, we're gonna take them out. They call this one guy the samurai because he looks like a samurai.
Because he speaks I speak Japanese, and he doesn't demonstrate at all.
Yeah.
That
and the funny thing is, Hannon as the lead actor as Joe was intentionally flubbing lines by the end of production because he was so frustrated with not being able to kind of like work through his scenes. He'd been aware of Sly Stallone's career, and he kind of wanted to emulate something like that. So he started flubbing these lines and screwing up these takes, assuming then that they wouldn't get in the film.
Yeah,
and they just went in the film. So the film was full of those kinds of like problems of misunderstanding and things that were basically nobody was making the right movie. No one was making the same movie. They didn't have enough lighting to shoot at night, so they just shot every scene during the day, which makes those sex scenes particularly weird.
They didn't have a permit to do the chase scenes, so all the chase scenes were in speed limit.
Yep.
But they speed up the film.
Yep.
Brilliant.
I mean, the thing is, do what you can with the money you have is a big lesson I try to tell people. We're going to talk about another film, later on this week about one where like the budget was light and we did what we could with limited locations. We made the film work within these confines. Yeah. This is a case where we tried to do too much with $7,000. And as somebody who could even barely make a down payment on his home without a couple $1,000s, like I could have financed this thing.
I really think the key for this, and there's a lot of elements wrong, and it's fun enjoyment to see why it failed up, because people are like, it's awkwardness. This is the room before the room. Mm-hmm. To see that what element it missed, and I think what it missed on set was some kind of script supervisor or a shot call list. I think they're just like, oh, tomorrow, what do we got to do? They look at the script. Oh, we haven't shot this yet.
Yeah.
So you need, when you're making a movie, you need an order of how you're going to do things planned out. And I think they just jumped in because the beginning of the movie is probably the end of the movie. They're like, oh, crap, we don't have any of this. Mm. And so they call them up and like, well, I just chopped my hair off. I thought we're done.
Well, it apparently had been months where they hadn't heard from anyone, hadn't been told they were coming back to do reshoots. And then Siobhan was so upset because he cut his hair. And it's like you have to plan in these things. I know that they didn't do that back.
And that's
in the
not
day,
his fault. That
you
is
know?
production pre-planning. So get in your pre-production, plan it out precisely before you even lift up a camera and start shooting.
Yeah.
And I think that was one of the crucial elements. And yes, filmmaking is tough. And that's why we get enjoyment of continuity is missed out. Even in the Mexican standoff between everybody, but they only occupying the one scene, so you can tell that nobody is in the same room as.
Yeah, it was kind of like when that 4th season of Arrested Development came out, and you could tell they were green screening actors into the same sequence, and you felt that lack of human connection that was happening there. It was very much on that kind of a scale.
And that is, I don't have anything to gravitate to a character that I enjoy. I enjoy the awkwardness of the whole continuity of the film.
Yeah. You know, it's on that level.
That's why I say the lion on the wall has far more personality than anybody in this movie.
And we need to make an Oscar category. But, you know, when you look at movies like the so bad they're good kind of movies, you know, I think I mentioned this to you last week. Birdemic is a movie that I cannot give any accolades to. I don't think anything in that film is good, and yet I can watch that every year and still enjoy it. The Room kind of has that. You know, The Room is something that has been in theaters, in and out of theaters, every single day almost for decades now.
Because it's shockingly how awkward and bad it is.
Yeah. It's almost like we go to these movies because, you know, for the same reason like we go to NASCAR. We go to NASCAR to see the crash.
Yeah.
You know, we go to the movie to see the crash happen. And so these things kind of carry a weight of, you know, it's so bad you've got to check it out.
Right.
You know, you've got to see it.
Now, on a positive note, I think the guy who plays the sergeant or the captain, detective, the captain, the boss, I think if he had a better script, he's probably the best actor on set.
Yeah, I agree. I was rewatching some scenes with him because I wanted to check out the dialogue that he was forced to say, and he actually carries it about as good as you probably.
I know.
could.
I'm sure he really goes, I have to say this crap, and he sells it hard.
Yeah.
And then how you end the scene is, I don't know how to end the scene. Well, just make it something stupid, like he kisses him, and okay.
It's an ending.
Right. It's an ending of a scene.
Yeah, I mean, if I had to give, you know, the Oscar away to someone in this film, it would probably be him in a supporting actor role. Or I do like Gerald Okamura, who was like one of the henchmen of the Katana gang. He was actually in films like Blade, Big Trouble in Little China.
The one in his underwear?
The one who is kind of like standing there, basically stoic the whole film. He's acting with his eyes, and it seems like he's there because he has credits. You know, in the same way that maybe Robert Zadar, although I know Zadar had worked with this director before, I think on Hollywood Cop.
Yeah.
So you look at these guys that's what we needed more in the film. It's just even people who had experience on a set, because I think they would have seen something that's wrong. It also seems like this director didn't want to be corrected. There was a lot of stories behind the scenes of him not wanting people to tell him he's doing something wrong. And that's the thing, is when you're a director, you have
when somebody
to
tells
listen
you
to
you're
your
doing
people.
something wrong, you're just fine. Just to have a disdainment, we're keeping it in.
Yeah, because I think that's something Steven Spielberg had said is, to be a great director, you just need to surround yourself with people who know their crafts as good or better than you, who can tell you when you're not going to be doing something right. He credits a lot of his success to his music, to his editing, to his, you know, cinematography. Director Mick Garris, you know, when you talked about pre-production, says the most important part of the filmmaking process is pre-production. He says, I plan everything to a T, and I very rarely miss a shot in a day because I know exactly what I'm doing every single day for the entire film shoot. And I think this is a case where we're seeing lack of experience and lack of funds leading to a lack of quality.
If you have lack of experience, get on a film set.
Yeah.
Don't just say, I just want to experience being on a film set. Go to film.
Yeah. Hold it, boom, get a workout.
Okay. What do you think of our assessment of Samurai Cop?
Yeah, let us know down in the comments section which Oscar you'd give the film if you were forced to under duress. Thank you all for joining us so very much. And you can find all of my film reviews, which will not currently include a film review of Samurai Cop, over at goatfilmreviews.com.
Hey, well, the Samurai Cop does have a nice house, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
I think he's on the take, too. Ooh. All right. Check out my show, the St. Paul Filmcast and Refining Podcast. Thanks for watching.